I'm going to talk about the first few days after a book launch and what they actually feel like. Not the marketing version of it, the real version of it. You spend months, or in my case, weeks, months, years of conversations, 30 years of conversations that go into building something like this. And then you let it go. You send it off into the world and you wait to find out if anybody likes it, whether it landed where you aimed. The Last Employee, The Rise of Ownership, launched 4 days ago. And I've been paying attention to who's finding it and what they're saying about it. Not because I need validation, but because the response tells you something important about whether the argument transferred. And whether the argument transferred is the only thing that really matters. Here's what caught my attention. A meaningful portion of the people finding the book in the first few days are not franchise industry people, as much as I love them. They are franchise colleagues, franchisors, multi-unit operators who already know my work. There are also corporate professionals who have never seriously considered franchise ownership, people who typed something into Amazon, something about AI or jobs or career alternatives, or building something of their own, and landed on this book. And they're reading it. It tells me something I suspected when I was writing it, but wasn't certain until now. This book really isn't a franchise book. It was never supposed to be. It's a book about what happens when the employment contract breaks down and what the person on the other side of that breakdown does next. Franchising is the vehicle. Ownership is the destination. And those two things are resonating with people who have never set foot on a franchise trade show floor, which is exactly who I was writing it for. The core argument of The Last Employee is simple. For 150 years, the employment deal worked, imperfectly, conditionally, but functionally. You gave the company your time and your best years, and in return, you got a paycheck and a title and maybe something that felt like security. That deal is structurally broken now. Not because of a recession, not because of a bad economy, because of AI displacement, because the hollowing out of the middle, because the entry-level positions that used to be the first rung of every corporate ladder are disappearing. And they're not coming back. At the same time, the largest private wealth transfer in American history is underway. 10,000 baby boomers retire every single day. Franchising is growing at twice the rate of the broader economy and the trades. They are desperately short of organized, capitalized operators. The window is open in a way that it has never been in my 30 years in this industry. That argument, made as plainly as I could make it, is what people are responding to. Not because it's a new idea, because it's a true one. And because, for a lot of readers, it names something that they've been feeling for a while without quite having the language for it. The piece of the book that seems to be doing the most work, based on what people are telling me, is Knauf's hierarchy of franchising. 6 levels from employee to legacy owner. What I keep hearing is the hierarchy gives people something they didn't have before. Not information, there's plenty of franchise information. Gives them a position. For the first time, they can see exactly where they are on a map. And once you know where you are, you can say, I'm at level 2, and I understand what level 3 requires. Every subsequent decision gets clearer. The fog lifts a little. That's what I was trying to build. a diagnostic as much as a framework, something that places you and then shows you the path. I want to be honest about something. I didn't expect for this book to reach this far outside of the franchise industry this quickly. I thought the first readers would be almost entirely franchise professionals. Honestly, I'd have been happy if it was a dozen people from my own company. People who already know this world, who know my work, who were going to either confirm or challenge the argument from the inside of the industry. And some of them are. But a lot of the early readers are people for whom this book is genuinely the first serious introduction to franchise ownership as a wealth strategy. People who are finding the Franifesto and reading it and thinking, I didn't know this framing existed. That's humbling in all the right ways. It tells me that the argument has legs outside of the room it was written in. Over the next several weeks, I want to go deeper on the things the book couldn't fully cover. The franchise multiplier, the strategy for identifying boomer-owned independent businesses and converting them to franchise locations and territories. Capturing the valuation differential that conversion creates. This is one of the most significant opportunities in the franchising macro right now, and it gets relatively little attention. But these are businesses that private equity is buying. We can just run them better. The level 5 conversation. What building towards an institutional exit actually looks like in practice. Not the concept, not the mechanics. Portfolio architecture, management independence, exit engineering. This is the ORCA program in conversation form. And I want to start talking to the reader and their questions. If you have read The Last Employee and something raised a question, if you're not sure where you're at within the hierarchy or you don't know where to go next, this will be about what those next moves look like. Reach out. Let me know what your questions are. We'll get those answered. The conversation the book started is the one I want to continue here. The Last Employee, The Rise of Ownership, is available on Amazon.com today. If you've read it and found something interesting or useful in it, a review helps more than you can imagine. Helps people find it. If you haven't read it yet, the map is in there. And it was 30 years in the making. Currently cost you $4.99. That will go up for the people who look at this or listen to this podcast later. Still be reasonable. But $4.99 is the opening offer. If you're at level 3 or 4 and thinking about what the next level actually requires, orcazee.com is where that conversation starts. I'm George Knauf, franchise investment strategist. This is the Franchise Snack Season 2, Episode 12. Let's go.